Remember when Neo first saw the Matrix code and reality looked like data stream? That's not sci-fi anymore. That's what these folks are attempting to build, except the code BCI will read thoughts in real time. And smart armor is just step 1. Governments have quietly poured nearly $1 billion into tech that once lived in Marvel movies. Since the early 2001, shadow labs like DARPA, IARPA and the European Defense Fund have been bleeding billions into tech we thought was too sci-fi. I'm talking about brain-computer interfaces, neural implants that hijack thoughts, exosuits that turn humans into cyborgs, smart prosthetics that think faster than you do, combat systems with neuromodulation that read your mind before you know it yourself. These terms and names are a little mouthful, but in the coming years, we will all be familiar with these words, just how words like lockdown, quarantine, contact tracing, and names like Pfizer Covaxin became familiar to us during the pandemic. Check this out.
We know from the declassified documents, any technology that is like, what the hell was that I just saw and you're not supposed to have seen, that's DARPA. Right?
They were doing Neuralink in the 90s, right?
That's Annie Jacobson, Pulitzer finalist in Danny Jones' podcast. She exposed Pentagon's secret weapons lab and DARPA's classified projects. You think Marvel dreamed it all up? Nobody has that kind of imagination. They were reverse engineering DARPA's prototypes. DARPA is not just a lab, right? It's the Pentagon's Frankenstein room, the real world Stark Industries. Remember when Tony Stark activated his HUD with a flick of the wrist and turned the desert into a battlefield? Or when Edge of Tomorrow showed military-grade exoskeletons as the weapons of tomorrow? Yeah, all I'm saying is that is public funding. The tax dollars of Americans used for building futuristic armor.
It sounds like something out of science fiction. But the futuristic goggles these soldiers are wearing could transform the battlefield. A heads-up display, or HUD for short, allows soldiers to see terrain maps and an overhead compass in real time, helping to clear the fog of war.
You have like a little arrow pointing like, hey.
Isn't that crazy? My sci-fi dreams are coming true. The story begins in 2019 Arlington, Virginia, Washington at the Pentagon when a DARPA program manager slides a classified folder across the table stamped Project Cyborg Soldier 2050. When you Google that title, you will come across a link by the Defense Technical Information Center. Get that PDF called Cyborg Soldier 2050 Human Machine Fusion. Its mission statement says integrate machines into the human body to enhance performance. So in 2019, when we were crying over Tony Stark dying in Endgame, Uncle Sam there was building the real-life Iron Man suit like the DARPA's Warrior Web, Squad X, Intelligent Neural Interface, and the private sector projects like Lockheed Martin's Onyx. Silicon Valley's most powerful VCs are betting their entire funds on BCI technology. Mark Andreessen Horowitz, Alfred Lin, Sequoia Capital, Peter Thiel Founders Fund, they are calling this the next iPhone moment. Because the global brain-computer interface market is projected to hit $7.2 billion by 2030. With this video, I am trying to understand why Elon Musk tweeted that brain-computer interfaces are not just a future, they are inevitable, and why these brain chips should scare the hell out of us. Smart armor is not a protective gear. It's a suit packed with sensors that inject data directly into your bloodstream. Heads-up displays that override your vision. Think of a synthetic nervous system, sensors, HUDs, bioreaders, all jammed into the soldier's body like an extension. Iron Man, that's outdated. This stuff doesn't need an arc reactor. It will feed real-time battlefield straight into your optic nerve. Think of exosuits that adapt to terrain like synthetic muscles, or goggles that overlay enemy heat signatures like Call of Duty cheat codes. Armors that can sense where you are bleeding before you do. This is more terrifying than any sci-fi movie because we are not just creating better soldiers, we are creating hackable humans. Here's how it works. Your brain operates on 20 watts of electricity, roughly the same as a light bulb. Every thought, every decision, every reaction creates specific electrical patterns. These new neural interfaces don't just read those patterns, they rewrite them. Remember Bucky Barnes, how Hydra programmed him with trigger words that overrode his free will? That was amateur. What DARPA is building makes Bucky's programming look primitive. The companies creating BCIs are Neuralink with N1, Synchron with Stentrode, which is FDA approved for human trials, and DARPA themselves are developing their own BCIs, specific for soldiers, not civilians.
To do so, we are injecting tiny amounts of current into the head, non-invasively from multiple electrodes on the scalp. We are able to harness nonlinear dynamics of neurons.
The Neuralink N1 chip is implanted by stitching it onto the brain, and nobody is voluntarily signing up for a brain surgery. And that's why Elon Musk got backlash for trials on animals.
It's not magic. The reason Neuralink works is because it's recording and decoding electrical signals from the brain.
But the Stentrode by Synchron are non-invasive. It's inserted into the jugular vein and pushed to the top of the brain. Unlike a Neuralink N1 that needs to drill a hole in your skull, for a Stentrode the sensors are built onto a stent that sits on the wall of the vein and maintains blood flow. Just like a stent is implanted into your heart, Stentrode goes into your brain. So we are all familiar with this procedure. But Stentrode uses 16 electrodes to read brain activity, and N1 uses 1024 electrodes. And neither revealed how many neurons they are reading. But the DARPA's Neural Engineering System Design Program, NESD, is developing neural interfaces to pick up 1 million neurons in the brain. A leap from current BCI technology, aiming at creating high-resolution, two-way communication channel between the brain and the digital device. These BCIs let paralyzed patients control computers and smartphones just by their thoughts. But yes, it comes with a cost, and the cost is their privacy. They trade their privacy in return with the companies. But here's where it gets wild. The Pentagon won't use these just as brain-reading devices. They're decoding intent, like, why train a soldier for 10 years when you can install a neural shortcut? That's what Pentagon and DARPA is at. If you have ever seen Ghost in the Shell, the original anime, not the Hollywood remake, you'll remember Major Kusanagi plugging cables directly into the back of her neck to interface with the computers, right? That was 1995 fiction. In 2025, we have cut the cable, now it's all wireless reality. DARPA is working on bidirectional interfaces, means technology that can send information back into the brain. So not just recording your brain outputs, but also giving inputs to the brain. That means your brain does not just talk to a machine, it listens back. Reflexes get overridden, sensory data gets streamed. Imagine this at a battlefield. You're a soldier, your BCI detects an incoming shot at you before you see it, before your eyes register the movement. But instead of alerting you, it directly stimulates your motor cortex areas, the area of the brain responsible for the movement of arms and legs, making your body move before your mind decides to. Your body reacts to threats faster than humanly possible because it's not entirely human anymore. You're not reacting to threats, your machine is puppeting your body. Don't take my word for it. RAND Corporation published a report called Cyborg Soldier 2050. A fun fact, Project RAND was formed after World War II for US military research. The page 15 of this report states brain-computer interface, BCI, may eventually be used to monitor a soldier's cognitive workload, control a drone swarm, or link with a prosthetic. It also mentions its ability to achieve hands-free control of a vehicle, robot, or a drone swarm. Hence, BCI could allow the soldiers to use their hands for other tasks, such as carrying a traditional weapon, which also won't be traditional anymore. One soldier thinks, attack, and an entire squadron of autonomous drones will execute his neural commands in real time. No radio, no delay, just pure instantaneous thought-to-kill conversion. Imagine that. It's like the neural handshake from the Pacific Rim.
Neural handshake.
Except instead of controlling a giant robot, you are controlling an entire AI-powered machine. AI-powdered machine? AI-powered machine. AI-powered army. AI-powered army. Anyways, the question is, how much of the blood money is pouring into this? Let's start talking money, because in the Silicon Valley's defense industrial complex, money talks just as loud as science fiction.
They hired science fiction writers to kind of sit around a round table and come up with the craziest ideas they could to then try to game out how they could defend.
The global brain-computer interface market hit $1.9 billion in 2022. It's projected to reach $7.2 billion by 2030. That's not medical device money, that's defense-grade. National security and democracy depends on it, that kind of money. Lockheed Martin secured a $4.6 million contract by DARPA to build machines that think faster than human soldiers. That's just one contract in the first quarter of 2024. Raytheon and Northrop Grumman secured combined contracts of $1.4 billion for smart armor and integrated soldier systems. General Atomics secured $94 million Phase 3 DARPA funding for autonomous systems that launching in 2025. But here's where it gets Silicon Valley sick. Anduril Industries, founded by Parmer Lucky, yes, the guy who sold Oculus to Facebook for $2 billion, now he's building autonomous weapons. Valuation is $14 billion. For context, that's more than Twitter was worth when Elon bought it. Shield AI raised over 500 million specifically for AI-powered military drones and soldier enhancement. Synchron, the BCI company, has backing from major medtech investors. These are not even defense contractors. They are pure tech companies that move fast, break things and expansion. Boom. Remember how Facebook went from a college project to a global surveillance platform in just a few years? That's the trajectory we are seeing with the military human enhancement. Except instead of connecting people to social networks, we are connecting human brains directly to weapon system. And here's the part that keeps Pentagon generals awake at night, the China factor. China allocated $15 billion towards intelligentized warfare, soldiers enhanced with AI and brain-computer interfaces. This isn't just an arms race, this is the human enhancement race. Because the first military to deploy cyborg soldiers will win every future war. When Silicon Valley sees a market opportunity, they transform it. And what makes brain-computer interfaces transformative is how the technology overlaps with multiple industries. Brain-computer interfaces, smart prosthetics, and augmented soldiers don't just belong in war zones. This innovation is applied to hospitals, video games, parent care, or automobile. So when investors hear about this kind of tech, they don't just see one opportunity, they see 10 markets converging into one powerful future. That's why they listen. Palmer sold Oculus to Facebook for $2 billion, then immediately started Anduril to build weapons. Again, a tech company. What do you think these folks are up to? Building windmills and solar panels? Lol. The US defense budget for 2025 is $962 billion. That's not a typo. To put that in perspective, that's more than the GDP of most countries. Switzerland is $947 billion. Sweden, Belgium, Argentina, Norway, UAE all stand over or below $600 million. Only India's GDP is about $4 trillion, but don't let that fool us Indians because our per capita income is just $2,800. Even Ukraine, a war-torn country, has about $5,000 as their per capita income, which is twice than ours. An average freelancer in Ukraine is earning twice as much as me while he's dodging missiles and bullets. Anyways, so the US defense budget, $962 billion, is about less than 25% of India's GDP. Also roughly equal to the bottom 120 economies combined. And that budget is going toward what the Pentagon calls human-machine teaming, basically turning soldiers into cyborgs. Remember that scene in Iron Man 2 where Tony Stark is hauled before a Senate committee where the government demands access to his suit technology?
I am Iron Man. The suit and I are one.
That's basically happening in reverse now. The American government is the one building the Iron Man suits and private companies are racing to be their Tony Stark. Alright, let's bring this back to money again because regardless of the ethical implications, this technology is happening. This is going to be bigger than the internet. The internet created about $50 trillion in global economic value over the past 30 years. Brain-computer interfaces will create much more. And the first investment deal is the hardware players. Companies building the actual brain-computer interfaces. Neuralink with $9 billion evaluation will likely go public by 2027, January. And this could be the largest IPO in history, not because of revenue, but because of potential. A lot of potential. Synchron is already FDA approved and testing on humans.
The most near-term functionality of Colonel's revolutionary brain-computer interface helmet will be the ability to always know the current state of your mind.
Colonel has $100 million in VC funding for neural recording devices. Pardes is DARPA-funded for military applications. Layer 2 is the platform companies building the AI weapons. Planter secured $178 million contract for Project Maven, an AI for battlefield analysis, and $800 million in total. Anduril secured $2.5 billion for autonomous weapon system. Shield AI raised over $600 million for military drones like the VBAT, and Cerebrus produces AI chips designed for neural processing. Layer 3 is the application layer, companies monetizing human-machine system. Medical device companies pivoting to BCI applications, gaming companies developing BCIs, automobile, toys, and movie industries integrating brain-computer interfaces into their existing systems. Remember Michael Burry in The Big Short?
Excuse me, Dr. Burry, it seems like a foolish investment.
He saw the housing crisis because he looked at the fundamentals instead of the hype. I feel like this is one of those moments. The fundamentals of BCI tech are solid, the government funding is real, and the market demand is inevitable. The big tech companies are quietly acquiring all the BCI startups. Meta spent over $1 billion on brain-computer interface research. Google invested heavily through their parent company Alphabet's venture arm. Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates has VC fundings in Stentrode and Synchron. Apple has multiple neural interface patents and has been hiring neuroscientists and brain-computer interface engineers. The iPhone created a $3 trillion company. The brain phone could create the first $10 trillion company.
I dream about being 3-time Golden Globe winning actor Jim Carrey.
Remember in the beginning of the video I said I want to understand why Elon Musk said brain-computer interfaces is not the future, it is inevitable and it should scare the hell out of us. Okay, let's get into that. You see, military tech always bleeds into civilian life. Always. You know it. The internet started as DARPANet. GPS was military. Touchscreens were military. Not sure, maybe even sanitary pads were once military. Brain-computer interface will follow the same fate, the same pattern. Because we are not only building better soldiers, we are changing how it means to have a human mind. Neuroethics is evolving fast to catch up with this tech, but here's the problem. The ethics are being written by the same people building the weapons. In fact, they are all regulated for civilians and private companies, but not for the government. Dr. Rafael Yuste, a Columbia University neuroscientist, the architect of the Brain Initiative, called for a neuro rights movement. Basic human rights that protect the integrity of our minds. But this tech is evolving fast. By the time we figure out the rules, the game will already have changed.
They call you the Godfather of AI. One of your students left OpenAI. What about regulations?
They have some, but they're not designed to deal with most of the threat. Then there's risks from AI getting super smart and deciding it doesn't need us.
Is that a real risk?
Yes, it is. Like the European regulations have a clause that say none of these apply to military uses of AI.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, who received the Nobel Prize for AI. Here are 3 scenarios that keep ethicists like him awake at night. Scenario 1, the consciousness kill switch. If a soldier's brain is directly jacked into AI systems that process information thousands of times faster than human thought, who's making the decisions? When the AI suggests a tactical move by directly stimulating the soldier's motor cortex, who is in control, the human or the machine? It's like the Turing test from except instead of asking, is the AI conscious, we are asking, is the human still human? Scenario 2, the species split. What happens when BCI becomes publicly available and in society some humans have direct brain-computer interfaces and others don't? Enhanced humans process information faster, react quicker, and have access to AI-level intelligence. Regular humans become obsolete in every aspect of society. Don't believe me? Check page 25 of the Cyborg 2050 assessment. It says, can a person be prevented from having an enhancement when entering a bank, gambling at a casino, taking a test, or negotiating a contract? Can an employer discriminate against an enhanced or non-enhanced person? They are already planning the segregation, my friends. Kataka showed us a world where genetic enhancement created a 2-class society.
In a society where success is determined by science.
A genetic discrimination, but brain-computer interfaces could create something worse. A world where enhanced humans and regular humans are essentially different species. Scenario 3, the neural hack. If your brain connects to digital networks, it can be hacked. Not your computer, your actual thoughts and memories. Imagine the power of implanting false memories, overwriting decisions, or simply turning enhanced people or soldiers against their own people, maybe at a battlefield. Inception's ultimate heist was planting an idea so deep that the target believes it's their own thought, right? Now imagine that capability in the hands of hostile companies and nations. Forget nations, forget countries, but in the hands of companies, corporates. Imagine how it will change advertising. Anyway, these are the questions we are asking in 2025, my folks. And yes, it excites me, but it also scares me. That's why I drink beer. Cheers. So here we are. 20 minutes ago, you might have thought Cyborg Soldiers were science fiction, but the technology exists. The funding is flowing. The applications are being tested on humans right now. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. We are at a Morpheus moment. Red pill or blue pill. The choice to see how deep this rabbit hole goes, or the choice to go back to thinking this is all just movies and comic books and fantasies. The truth is, whether you believe it or not, this technology is reshaping our civilization. And your tax dollar is working on it. Even Indians. Because if America and China develops brain-computer interfaces and cyborg soldiers, our government will have to build one too, using our money. so it does affect us. It's not just another American problem. Brain-computer interfaces will eventually be used for education, entertainment, for experiencing virtual worlds. Maybe I could sit here in Kerala and take a tour at Asakusa in Japan. BCI will be used for medicine, treating cancer, AIDS, depression, PTSD, and all sorts of neurological disorders. But it all starts with the military. It always does. If you are one of those who think this is all just fantasy, it's okay. But if you believe what I believe, then share this with someone who needs to see it. This is not a conspiracy theory, this is documented reality, and more people need to understand what's coming at them in 10 years. If you're an investor, start researching the companies I mentioned, do your own due diligence, but do not ignore the trend. You can follow the journalist. Follow journalists who talk about futurism. Arielle Pardes, she writes for Wired about human-machine integration. Sophie writes for Scientific American about cybernetics and future tech. Zoltan Istvan, former transhumanist party candidate, he covers cyborg rights and life extension topics about longevity. Eileen Gua, freelancer for Wired and New York Times, she focuses on human augmentation and AI ethics. The third thing you can do is look out for my next video. This is my first video on the channel. Support me and I will do my best to update you on futurism. Many years ago, I stumbled upon the concept of futurism, crab preservation, and brain-computer interfaces after reading this book called To Be a Machine. I'll look it up and I'll add the link in the description. Also, hey, leave a comment. Are you excited about this tech or are you terrified by it? Do you think cyborg soldiers will make us safer or put us all at risk? Or at least disagree with me in the comments. It's a free world. Only until it's not. Thanks for watching. I am Rajalikul, and remember, the most dangerous lie any civilization tells itself is, that could never happen here. Because what could happen will happen. See you in the next upload.